Hey, thanks for joining us. Happy Thursday here in Digital Inclusion Week. This has been an exciting week so far, and I'm excited to share with you this video. So we're talking 5 trends to watch, things to watch out for in libraries and digital inclusion. So let's jump right in. First off, digital business resources. Now I know business planning is not new as far as library services, digital age resources, tech and stuff, that's not new. So, why am I calling this a trend? Well, it's because in the digital age, I think there are new requirements for people starting up businesses. There are new needs and there are new competencies and literacies, which is what we provide. E-commerce is really different than in-person business models, and having to learn things like, fulfillment and Etsy, print on demand, digital banking. All of these are new competencies, new skills that folks need in order to run a business, and that's something that libraries can provide. These types of classes and these types of skill building opportunities and access to resources. And, just like how regular individual taxpayers are required to e-file now, in most instances, businesses have the same requirements too. They need to e-file, and so if they've been doing it by paper for years, suddenly there's this new need just for operating their business. That's something that libraries can be helping with, and that I think we're starting to see libraries engaging with a little bit more. Also, security concerns, fraud, preventing your business from cybersecurity attacks, things like that. All of these are new areas where we can support our small businesses and local communities, local folks that are trying to stand up a business on their own. The next trend that I'm seeing is close examination of E-rate, and we've been using E-rate for a long time, but the question is, what's coming next? How else can we be using this? So there's some interesting things coming out. There is this cybersecurity pilot where libraries and schools can use E-rate to cover some of the costs of protecting their network, protecting their information. That's exciting, and that could be where we're heading in the future for everyone to have that possibility. There's also, this has been in the news a lot recently, but there is the possibility that E-rate can be used to cover hotspots, Wi-Fi hotspots. I say possibility because there's some court challenges going on. This is going to be interesting to see, what happens. But I think it's absolutely the next step of E-rate. Of course, it makes sense that our hotspot recurring charges should be covered. But there's also the larger question, will E-rate continue to exist? That's under examination too. How does it get its funding, and exactly what services is it meant to support? So I think that investigation is something that we're going to continue seeing libraries involved in, and we should, because if we're not involved in it, then there's no one there to advocate for what we're doing, for the services we're offering, like hotspots, for how critical they are, and for the fact that they need E-rate support in order for them to be sustainable, to continue long term. There's also things like kiosks or other experiments with remote Wi-Fi access that can be funded by E-rate, and I think should be funded by E-rate. So those experiments are really exciting too, and I think we're going to continue seeing more of them in the coming years. Okay, the next trend that I'm seeing is health access. And often this is going to come in partnership with, say, a county health department or a local clinic, or someone who is really motivated to improve public health and to act upon needs and barriers to accessing health resources. So how libraries are getting involved is things like booths, where a patron can, say, take a call with their doctor or do a telehealth appointment or visit. Sometimes these are just soundproof booths so that you can do, a phone call. Sometimes it's a totally separate room that has, maybe a sign on the door, telehealth visit in progress, do not disturb, so that that patron can really have privacy. Either way, it's about providing a space with some good connectivity and with some, the ability to discuss things without being overheard, to have that privacy that everyone deserves. There's also, trends like lending out basic health monitoring kits. So that might include, a blood pressure cuff like this, or it could include things like glucose monitors, or any kind of equipment where it can be used individually, and it can give that really important information to a healthcare team that the patron, wouldn't have been able to, say, sit at the clinic or sit in the hospital for 2 days to be monitored for this, and they also wouldn't have been able to take time off work. With the library's involvement, they can do that remotely, even if they wouldn't have been able to purchase that equipment themselves. So the next trend that I'm seeing, how could I have done this without talking about artificial intelligence, right? So when we're calling it artificial intelligence, what we really mean is a generative language model that is predicting what language you want to see and then giving it to you. So we definitely should have a role in how the public, how our patrons and our communities navigate this tool, this resource. And I was pulling up images for this, and I came across this image, and I thought it was so great. Like, this is an advertisement from a company that's selling how incredible their AI is. There are mistakes in this little dialogue, this little pop-up bubble. Like grammatical mistakes. It's just, this is the point where we are with these artificial intelligences. And I think it's really important for us to acknowledge that and then celebrate that as, here's a learning opportunity, or here's a misinformation check opportunity. Here's a chance to dig in and say, how can this actually be useful to me? And one way that it really can be useful, even when it's making grammatical mistakes or basic errors, is as a tool to interpret the vast amounts of data that we have in this digital age. These quantities of information that are available to us are just enormous, incomprehensible. For an algorithm that doesn't think, there's no such thing as incomprehensible. It can churn through all of this huge amount of data, and it might be able to give you something actionable, something really useful at the end, if you know how to use it, if you know what skills you need to use, what language you need to use, what approach you need to use and model in order to get that actionable piece of information out of this huge data set. Okay, the fifth trend in libraries and digital inclusion, this is one that I am so excited about. Facilities projects, capital projects with digital inclusion funding. I like this idea. So we know it's always hard to find funding for capital projects, right? It's always hard to find construction funding. It's usually not appropriated out of, regular local tax dollars. You're having to go ask for special funding. Well, there's a real opportunity in these digital inclusion funds. Whether it's remodeling your spaces to make them, more accommodating, or building new spaces, whether it's just the tech equipment itself that is, making your facility useful, or whether it's transforming, rooms and services, saying, okay, well, this used to be a classroom, but now we're going to make it this, say, a digital exploration lab or something. There's real opportunity here if you're thinking outside the box and saying, how can this funding really benefit my community? And I'm really excited to see what comes of this and to see how folks are able to use this funding for capital projects. So those are the 5 trends to watch for in libraries and digital inclusion. Oh, and my dog is making an appearance. Hi, Dino. Thanks for watching, and enjoy the rest of your digital inclusion week.